I'm Orly Gottesman, and you are listening to Monday Morning Critic.
Perfect. I have to ask you. I've been dying to ask you this all day. How good is butterbeer?
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. It's 11 out of 10. 100%. The frozen one's better than the regular. Have you ever had it?
I haven't. So paint a picture. Like I'm trying in my mind to like picture what it tastes like, and I can't do it. Like I can't figure it out.
So think of they have like a frozen one and like a regular one. It's like it tastes like cream soda, but it also tastes like those caramel butterscotch like things in those golden
Okay.
like it's just like it's so yummy, and it's got like this like cold foam on the top that's just like it just works. It's something.
Yeah. I was gonna say butterscotch, but like the way you're describing it makes me want to have one right now.
Oh,
Yeah, that's a good description. So I have to say, I don't know how you do it. I don't know how you run you almost like have two lives. I was thinking about this today. It's almost like you're like Diana Prince in one way, and another way you're like Wonder Woman. Right? You have these like two lives. I mean, I can't imagine when I was your age doing it. Is it difficult for you to pull off because you're and we're going to get to it, but you have this amazing life that you're living that's very difficult. Not many people can do it, and then you're kind of at sometimes expected to be a high school kid, which you are. But is there conflicts? Is it tough? How is that journey for you?
yeah, there's definitely some struggle trying to balance obviously like I wouldn't consider myself like a normal teenage girl. Like for certain like reasons it's hard for me to kind of do the things that like a normal teenager would do just cuz like I don't have like the like my mindset's completely different just like based off of like my priorities and like this week it's like homecoming week and everyone's like worried about like getting their votes out and like posting about like all that stuff, and like that stuff is just like over my head. Like I don't like actually pay attention to it, and like as much as I would love to, like I've always like thought I'll never have like the high school experience, but it's like you take and you get, and like this I'd much rather have what I have now. It's tricky trying to balance between like my friends and my social life and being that teenage girl and relationships and having to leave for weeks at a time to go meet these amazing people and do amazing things and hopefully someday get big, but I'm living my dream, and like I'll make the sacrifices that I need to.
Yeah, it's amazing because one day you're with Kevin Costner, the next day you're at you're a Cypress Lake Panther. Like I don't get how that and listen for those listening and it's a tough thing to manage. I mean, but I love the fact that you're trying to give it a shot, living that high school life. Living, do you find that you're treated differently Orly by people, or is it one of those things where they know you've always been Orly and they accept you no matter what, or is it a difficult transition to make?
Yeah, I go to an art school, so a lot
Nice.
of people there they acknowledge that I'm working, and a lot of us have the same dream. For them, it's usually more like theater, like Broadway, going to New York, going to college. And for me, like I'm still at that moment where I'm like, do I want to go to college? Because like what would I major in? I could do something like producing. So, but I mean, all of the people at Cypress Lake, they knew me before they knew like Haley, that I was Haley on a show. And so they're
Mhm.
super, super supportive. They don't really treat me any differently though, which I really appreciate.
Yeah, excellent. I mean, and this is just the start for you because there's no way you don't go anywhere but up. Like, I mean, you're off to so many good things. I think, and it all starts with this 2 week camp in LA that you love. Like, this was your sister with you at this camp?
Yeah.
Yeah. So outside of this, first of all, touch on that 2 week camp, and then tell me what else you love about acting, right? Because this camp was big to you. For you, the people are about to find out. But what else about acting do you really love, Orly? Answer that in any order you want.
I mean, I just love being able to be different people, but kind of like be myself in a way. It's kind of like I get to step out of reality and do something that I've been practicing my whole life, but also for me and my sister, it sort of came really naturally. And like all these huge opportunities, just like in my mind, knowing that one day maybe I'll get to meet them and
Right.
being able to work in their presence. And also, this is something that I was put into. I never realized that like I loved like the art of acting until a couple years ago, like because I couldn't really appreciate it because I didn't know like the significance of it, and then I started talking to my friends, and they all told me that they always wanted to be actors, but they never knew how to get started. And like for me, like that never occurred to me. Like if I weren't an actor, would I want to be an actor? You know,
Right.
but it's
Right.
just because like I was kind of put into this, but like I'm so happy that I was, because I now have like all these opportunities like lined up, and I can just pursue like something that I didn't know that I loved until I knew that I loved it.
Do you run lines with Ariel?
Yes. Yeah, all the time. I help her
And
auditions. She helps me tape auditions. Yeah.
such a great to have a bond with your sister like that, and to really make that a thing, and have you guys relate to each other, and acting kind of bridges that. That's fantastic, really, don't you think?
Yeah. Sometimes we're like each other's competition. Like she'll audition for the same role that I am, just
Yeah.
because like now we're the same height, and like so sometimes it's like in that case it's tricky because we try to make different acting choices just so it's not all the same. And so sometimes we'll get coaching and other times we won't. But I mean, Arla and I, we help each other out. We run lines. We tape. We'll help set up. Like sometimes I'll curl her hair. Sometimes she'll straighten my hair. It's just like that sister bond that, it just works.
Very cool. Give me an actor or a movie that really that you are just. I don't want to say inspiration for you wanting to be an actor, but who is an actor or a movie that you just absolutely love?
Well, there was a movie that I watched where I could like actually appreciate like the acting in a way. I can't think of the name now, but I had just recently watched, it's kind of like a heavy topic, but I had
Right.
just recently watched Schindler's List.
Yeah, good
So
call. Yeah.
yeah, and so I'm doing a production for my school called I Never Saw Another Butterfly. I've written about the Holocaust and I play the lead, so I was like, I need to get some backstory
Nice.
of the Holocaust. So I watched that movie, and it's just like it's so heavy, like the topic, and like having to like play like in a major event in history and like actually like do justice to it is so like difficult, and it's a lot of pressure, and the lead and the main actor of that production just like did a phenomenal job, I feel like. So
Yeah,
definitely an inspiration.
and the black and white just adds to that movie the heaviness, right? Yeah, just an unbelievable movie. So talk about some of your training, right? Because I mentioned the camps. You are somebody that strikes me as absolutely fearless in front of the camera. Like you're not camera shy at all. Like I mean, you're somebody who embraces that challenge. Who when walks on a set is good to go. But talk about some of your training that led up to that. That you think. I mean, obviously, it all is important. It all leads somewhere. It all adds up, but are there mentors or a piece of that training that you remember specifically?
Yeah, I mean, like when it comes to being camera shy, when my friends pull up like a phone and like take a picture with me, I'm like, no, no. Like I don't know, that's just like habit. But I mean, I love being in front of the camera. I don't know like what it is, but like just the feeling that like everyone's like looking at you and seeing like what you'll do next, and like the power's like in your hands, and you get that like you have the capability, like the ability to like perform this. Like that's I think what like gets my heart going. There's like always my heart's always pumping. I'm never not nervous. I always have adrenaline, but I've learned to like use that adrenaline and kind of like cover it. So like with something as big as Yellowstone, working with huge actors, of course, like I was nervous, but I kind of just like swallow it, and I'm like, all right, let's do this. It's everyone here is a person. We're all human. But I would definitely just say like acting, it's kind of tricky. Like the best thing that I could say was like just like having persistence in like this industry is like really important. And just like you're knowing that your ego's not too big to the point where like if someone says like you don't fit the role, then it's not like a stab in the chest. It's kind of just like, like that's all it was. And I think one thing that helped me a lot was when I realized that like 80% of why you book something is based off the way you look and not like your acting ability.
Yeah.
Because I had been practicing for 6 7 years, and so like not booking something, it was kind of like why am I doing this? It's kind of a letdown. But then one of my coaches had told me that like 80% of it is based on how you look, and if you match the looks of that person and that character. And I think that definitely really helped. So
Are you sure you're only 16? Because I swear there's actors that have to, 20 years experience to figure out what you just told me in 3 minutes. Like I feel like I don't know. That's something you figure out the hard way, and that's a great philosophy to have, Orly. And I mean, again, that's a huge thing to have. So I have to ask you. I know you have experience with horses. I think you had a role, and I don't know about you, but horse movies wreck me, from the Horse Whisperer to Seabiscuit to Hidalgo to Dreamer to Warhorse. I don't know what it is. Yellowstone too. Even that very first episode, I don't know what it is. But talk to me about horses and your affinity for them and why they're so special, Orly.
Yeah, so I mean, growing up, like when that movie, The Zookeeper's Wife, came out, my whole family went to see it in the movie theater, and my mom's like, "You're not invited. You can't see this movie because it doesn't matter to me how many like people will die in like a written script, as long as like animals die, then like I'm out. Like that's just like where I draw the line." And so like I've been pescatarian for 4 years, I think, because like my heart like just hurts when something happens to an animal. And so I had the opportunity to film a feature film called Adeline. And it was the story, it's a beautiful story, based on a true story, but it's about this horse named Adeline, whose actual horse name was Leotie. But they're actually medicine horses, like healing horses. And so they have like sessions with people that need like certain kinds of help, like people that, like struggle with certain things. And so they're just like, they're there and they're comforting, and they have this certain energy about them that is able to heal people physically. And like it sounds like it's like fake, but I swear it's real. And so there was like, when I went to go film, I had a scene with Leotie, and like he was just doing his work, and like he makes it obvious when he's doing his work, but like there's just something like inside of you that like you recognize that, and you're in that moment, and you're like encaptured, and everyone in the room, like behind the camera, and all the people that were like in the scene but like out of the scene, like all the camera and the sound and everyone, they were silent, like he was like working with everyone, he was getting inside everyone's like soul and like working with them. And
Yeah.
so that was just like a super powerful moment. And and since then, I feel like I've gotten pretty close with like animals in that sense. And so when I found out like about Yellowstone, I was like, okay, I'm gonna learn how to ride a horse. I'm gonna learn how to saddle a horse. So I kind of had that excuse to like go out and find myself a ranch over in Fort Myers and work on that.
That's awesome. And I'll tell you right up there with horse movies, Orly, are dog movies. I can't do Marley and Me. I can't. It's a one watch thing. Not because it's bad. It's just too good.
Yeah.
That'll tug on the heartstrings. Is too. I was watching Kevin Costner. I think he was at the premiere. Orly, I swear to God, I think he's a vampire. He doesn't age. He still looks stunning. Like he's like, I'm gonna regret saying this, but he's like a beautiful man. Like he's
No.
stunning. Like it's like, are you kidding me? Like all he's done, and I'm looking at him, and I know I'm a lot younger than him, and it sure as hell doesn't look that way. Talk about Kevin and some of his work in the past that you've seen that you admire. I'm sure there's a lot, but is there a particular Costner movie that stands out to you?
Yeah, I just watched like 2 weeks ago. I just watched, I think it's called The Policeman. Is that
The Bodyguard?
The Bodyguard? Yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I just watched that with my mom, and
Awesome.
like at first I was like, "Mom, this is slow. I can't watch this." And then like, like also he was so young that like you look at him then and you look at him now and you're this is incredible. Like he only got more and more talented as he got, more mature and older. And like he doesn't even like make it obvious. And like for a show like Yellowstone, he has to act like so tired and like so like over the edge. And when I had watched him in a scene, like I've never formally met him, just because like we just haven't been working the same days. And so when I did get the chance to like, see him work, he was just called down, and I was sitting behind the directors, and I was watching over their shoulders at the scene they were filming. And like I was just watching him switch into John Dutton so quickly. And like it was just like it was incredible to see like him work so flawlessly, and like the talent, and like it never goes away. Like it's something that he'll always be able to like pick up, and he'll always be able to have, and I admire that.
Yeah, well said. Speaking of Yellowstone, let's work our way into that. Once you got the role of Haley, I feel like it blew up everywhere. I feel like, Entertainment Weekly, if people go to your Instagram page, they can see it. But it was everywhere. It was Yahoo. I mean, there was tons of sources. Talk a little about you getting the role, the announcement, and a little bit about who Haley is.
Yeah, so when I was like, okay, I was a huge fan of the show before Haley. And so my whole family was like jumping up and down, like, you know, we were like friggin'
Mm.
about this whole thing. And so um when I booked it, I was on a family vacation in Mexico. And so my manager called the night after we got there and she's like, "You're going to Montana." And I was like, "Oh, like this, like I couldn't stop crying. I was crying for like 3 hours." And so when I got to Montana, you know, like it all kind of started to set in, but like it wasn't, I had waited a couple weeks before like the news could kind of get out, before I could say anything about, you know, about the show and about booking. And so then I gotten a publicist, and then she, like, Melissa is like amazing. She totally helped us like pick everything up. She she like all the opportunities of like getting, you know, out there, getting my name out there. It's like big pushes from my publicist, and I totally appreciate her. And you know, like it's just, this whole thing is still so surreal. Just being like 2 3 months ago, I was like still, you know, reaching for any opportunity, like all auditions. And you know, like now I don't take anything for granted still, but it's just
Right.
like, you know, all it takes is that one huge book, like that one huge opportunity for you to fit that character perfectly, and then, you know, you're kind of set.
Yeah, and talk about who Haley is. Who is she? I mean, many people watching already know, but who is she coming in?
Yeah, so Haley actually hasn't been introduced yet in the first couple episodes. I can't
Right.
say when she gets introduced, but she gets introduced like further into season 5. And so her character, she kind of like acts as like this kind of like beam of light for Carter, I think. If anyone had kind of like heard or like seen anything online, they might know that Haley's kind of like a love interest of Carter. And
Mm.
so she's the super bold girl, but she's also like a teenage girl. And so she's kind of like trying to like tiptoe into Carter's life without like mingling with like Beth, like huge personalities like Beth or Rip. Just because she doesn't want to like get in the way, as like a teenage girl wouldn't. But you know, she also like, she likes him, and she wants to do something about it. So, you know, what's the worst that can happen? So yeah.
Yeah, Orly, I'm going to put something on the screen. I want you to take a look at this. Tell me what kind of sorcery is going on Yellowstone. What, I mean, that's not a big difference. Like, what is going on? Like, I feel like I'm looking at two different people. Like, talk about working with Finn. Great guy, good actor. Talk about your experiences with him.
The worst. I'm just kidding. Actually, no, he's actually like super, super talented. We hadn't had much time to like talk or kind of like formally meet before our first scene together. And so, you know, like he's got like the whole accent thing, and like he's from Australia,
Mhm.
and he's definitely mastered the whole art of being like a cowboy. And so like we started to bond through like discussing like school and how like schooling was in another country, and kind of just like small talk, but it was actually really interesting. We're both at the age where we're like getting our license, and so we kind of like bonded over like the rules of the road and like everything you have to do to get your license and everything. So there are definitely some good moments in there, but he's super talented. He's able to turn the accent on and off really quick, which I thought was super cool. And so yeah, no, like when I had told people that, you know, I was like this love interest of Carter, they were like, no, he's 4'10" and small. Like that's no. But you know, like years go by, and he totally grew like a foot and a half. So definitely wasn't what I expected. But you know, I just went with the flow, and I told myself to keep breathing. So
Great. When you show up, do you have an idea of what you want to do with Haley, or do they tell you, Orly, look, this is how we want her played. This is what we want from her. Do they accept like maybe if you had input to how you something you'd want to do, or do you kind of go along with what they envision for you?
yeah, so I mean, the way that they have it written, when I was auditioning, I got like a character breakdown and I got the scenes. And so in the character breakdown, they don't like give you too much. They kind of like want you to put your own personality in there and let you play it out. And so I think that's one of like the biggest benefits that I had. One of the biggest things that like helped with this was the fact that I could like put her in my own like words in a way. And so that's why I feel like Haley and I kind of have like this connection of being like very similar to each other, just because she is me almost. Because
Yeah.
I would do many of the things that she is doing. And so I think like I think that's why she fits with I think that's just why it works. And so, you know, like the only written like blocking is just like walk here. She stops there, you know? And so like it's not like super strict. You can definitely like improv with some of your lines. Like
Sure.
it's not too like they're not like, you know, they want you to kind of play around with it and find your character. So yeah.
Any chance? Oh, you can't answer this, but any chance that she's trouble? You can't. Well, actually, there's nothing you can say. But there's a part of me that has a little bit of a maybe, maybe, maybe. Uh, well, when do you realize you're on a big set like this? So, I mean, obviously the actors, you know, there's got to be, you know, I think you said in another interview there's 4 cameras rolling and all. So when do you first realize, Orly, that my God, this is something. This is something unique. This is something different.
Well, I mean, just like hearing the word Yellowstone, kind of like still makes my fingers tingle. But it's more of like the fact that like when I think of Yellowstone, I think of like Kevin Costner, and I think of all the huge like actors that like represent the show. And also it's sort of like a pretty big deal because it correlates back to like Native history. And I think like there's so many storylines going on at once. The camera, like the director and the writer, and they have so much to like think about and like inquire at all times. And you know, with the prequels and everything, they have to make sure it all adds up. And so I think when it first hit me, it was when it actually wasn't me that like figured it out. My mom, she had to be on set with me because I'm a minor.
Right.
So my mom went back to holding while I was working, and one of the people that were on set, they were like, "Hey, you need to stay outside and watch Orly," like because they don't want me to be alone just because like I'm underage. And so like it was just like they have someone for everything. And like all the money that goes into it, like for continuity stuff, like they would like go the furthest freaking lengths to get me there, like. And it's just like they think of everything, you know, and they truly want this to be perfect. So it's not like it's just like thrown together by like people that don't know what they're doing. So it was
You,
just yeah.
Yeah, a few more questions for you, Orly. Thank you for all this time. You're such a good soul. I appreciate this. You know, there's I was thinking today, why is this show so? I mean, it's a top 3 show on TV without a question. I feel like the show doesn't apologize for what it is. It just straight storytelling, doesn't tiptoe. It just tells a story and doesn't apologize for it. And I think people are attracted to that. To just love a good story. Do you think that's the appeal of Yellowstone?
I do. I think they're not, it's not like they're like they don't know what they want. They're kind of just going with the flow. I think they all know how it's going to end. I just think they're trying to like create some huge story with ups and downs to get there. And I think they like incorporate political drama and you know like war and stuff. And I think it's just super interesting to everyone.
Yeah, and I know you can't comment on this either, but I absolutely love Cole Hauser. Him and Good Will Hunting will always stick with me, and he is just such a wonderful actor on this show. So let me ask you, when it comes to Yellowstone, and I think a lot of people, what can they expect this season from? What can you say? I mean, is there anything you can say? I don't want to get you in any trouble. I don't want you to reveal anything. What can they expect? The season's relatively early. You haven't appeared yet. What can they expect?
Um
You could be general. I don't want to get you in any trouble. Be general.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to get in any trouble, but I mean, just this season, like going into it, so much has already happened. If like the people have seen the first 2 episodes, like so much has already changed. And so I think just to kind of like expect the unexpected for season 5.
Yeah, and I want to let you go with this one. I want to talk about 1-800 Hot Night with Dallas Dupree Young. Are you a Cobra Kai fan?
Oh, 100%.
Talk about that experience. And well, first before you get to that, Cobra Kai. Is there a character you're drawn to?
I really liked Hawk. I forget his name, like
Yeah,
his name, but I liked his character.
yeah. I feel like, and I say people are gonna say shut up with this, but I feel like Sam is the biggest bully. That's Ralph Macchio's daughter in the show. I just feel like she's such a bully. So talk about that project, Dallas Dupree Young. Is it? That's why I bring Cobra Kai up. That's also on your Instagram. What can you say about that project?
Well, okay, Dallas is, he's incredibly talented. I worked with him on 1-800 Hot Night before the season that he was in came out. And so I hadn't like seen his work in anything really beforehand. So, but I had just known that he had booked Cobra Kai. And so I was kind of like, okay, that's super cool. And actually in middle school, there was one of the guys in Cobra Kai, Dimitri, I forget the actor's name,
Yeah.
but he actually went to the same middle school I was in California for like, we were there,
Wow.
we were there like the same time for like 2 days, but I thought that was cool. But yeah, no, like working 1-800 Hot Night, like it's also a pretty heavy topic. Like it goes heavy into like, like mature audience stuff. And
Sure.
so like like watching certain scenes with him in it, like he's a young actor and he's got so much like for him going, just because like when there was this one scene where he was like ugly crying, and it was like, not saying he was ugly, but like when you
No,
ugly,
I get you. Very emotional.
like,
Yeah.
yeah, like, and there's just like no shame and no fear, and like he full sent it, and it was like it worked, and it worked so well. And so I was super like inspired, and I just like it gives me chills every time I think about it. He's so talented. It was so fun to work with him. Just that whole experience was really fun, just because I was kind of bonding with the other actors that were my age, and so just a super fun opportunity to also like do work.
Yeah, and I have to say, just from Cobra Kai, I mean, he is one of the best actors on that show. Adult kid, whatever. He's amazing. He's amazing. Orly, what do you want to throw out there as far as maybe a future project, anything social media related, anything you wanted to get out there?
Nothing I want to get out there. Just kind of like stay updated with my social media. I'm on there quite a bit, so then when there's any good news that I can say, I'll put it out there.
Hey, I wish you nothing but luck and success moving forward, Orly, and thank you for giving me some time today. You're a good person, a wonderful actor, and I'm excited to see what the future brings.
Thank you so much. Thanks.
Thank you for listening to Derek Thomas and Monday Morning Critic Podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, you can also connect with Monday Morning Critic on Instagram and Facebook, MDM Critic on Twitter, subscribe on Apple Podcasts or wherever podcasts are found. All episodes available, www.mmcpodcast.com.